Greetings, it's Iain from RTO here. Third video of the day, and since I recorded the last birthday one, it's got darker in this room. I've had to put some light on it. I come back in after having a coffee and I thought, my God, only in Britain does it get dark first thing in the morning. Anyway, live album today is a very underrated British blues rock band called the Groundhogs, formed in the 60s by Tony McPhee. I actually saw them in my local pub and they were brilliant back in the day, but would have been in the mid-80s, and that was a brilliant gig, and I got really into them from that minute on, really. And they have released 14 live albums, so we're going to have a look at them today. So coming in at number 14 is an album released in 1996, and then it got a reissue in 2017, and it's Who Said Cherry Red, and it goes under the of Tony McPhee's Groundhogs. And it's not a standard studio album, but a collection of live performances recorded in a secret location and mixed at Stockyard Studios. So on here you've got, of course, Tony McPhee on vocals and guitar, Pete Chyman on bass, and Dale Ivis on drums. Now there's a lot of sort of medleys on here, and you get Rocking Chair and Man Trouble from Crosscut Saw, and Married Men and Crosscut Saw itself. And then they do another little one. This time you get two tracks from Split, being BBD, BDD and Times, and from the Blues Obituary album, the debut album, Natchez Burning. The next little selection of songs is one song from Thank Christ for the Bomb, Status People, and two from Split, Rich Man, Poor Man, and Darkness Is No Friend. Then we have the rest of the songs are all from the album Solid. So you've got Junkman, A Year in the Life on one little piece, and then the next bit is Sad is the Hunter, You Had a Lesson, Earth Shanty, Mr. Hooker, Sir John. Okay, I think this is a bit of a cheaty album. Live in the studio, it's a bit higgledy-piggledy all over the place. Well, there's some nice playing on it, but it doesn't got that live feel. So I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 4 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 13 is a real strange one. It was recorded on their 1987 European tour, and it's called Christmas Marketing in Weiden. In Germany, there was a Christmas fair that was recorded on the 13th of December 1987. The lineup on here is Tony McPhee on guitars and vocals, Dave Anderson on the bass, Mick Jones on the drums, and they open this little setup with a track from Scratching from the Surface, Express Man, which goes back to 1968. It's pretty good. Then their breakthrough album from Thank Christ for the Bomb, Strange Town, another classic track from the Crosscut Saw album, 3744 James Road, brilliant. Solid, we've got Soldier, and then the album that they was touring with, the title track Back Against the Wall. Go back to Split for the classic Garden, back to the newest album for a bit of Waiting in the Shadows. Then we go back to the Who Will Save the World album from 72, Light My Light, brilliant. And then there's they do this, and they've always done this live, a Robert Johnson track, Me and the Devil, brilliant little track that is, and they do a great version of it. Mistreated from Back Against the Wall, and the last track is another Robert Johnson, Crossroads. It's not the best recording, but it's got great atmosphere. The crowd really got into this, so I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 4.6, purely on the crowd whipping up a storm. Okay, number 12, recorded in 1991 at the New York Club in Switzerland and got released in 2007. Same lineup, Tony McPhee, Dave Anderson and Mick Jones. They open up with a track that they got done on their Blues Obituary album, which is actually a cover of a Roscoe Gordon number, and it's No Mo Doggin. Brilliant track. Love that track, and it's great live. Split Part 4, we know where that comes from. Brilliant track. And then I Want You to Love Me from the Blues Obituary album, pretty solid. Split ones on here as well, and then they do a great version of the Muddy Waters song, Still a Fool. I saw them do that. I think it's been in their set for years. Mistreated and One More Chance on Cross Cut Saw. Thank you. Thank Christ for the Bomb and Soldier from that albums. Then they do Light My Light from Hogwash, Me and the Devil, and the brilliant Cherry Red from Split. Some great songs on here. The production's pretty naff. It sounds very echoey, which is a shame because there's some great songs on this. So I should give it an RTO ranking of 5 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 11. It's like it's a double album, and it's called Groundhogs from Richmond to Pocono. It's tracks from 1969 and 1972, and it was unearthed by the Warner Brothers after 50 years. So this one features Tony McPhee, Peter Cruikshank and Ken Pustonlink, and the Richmond Athletic Ground recordings done on 7th of November 1969. So they opened up with Cherry Red from Split, and this was the first time they'd ever played it. Okay, it didn't get on an album till 1971, but this is the first time they actually introduced it into the thing. Most of these songs were going to appear on albums, so they were in their early days, really, of performing. We've got Mistreated, Natchez Burning, BDD, Times, Still a Fool, the Muddy Waters song, and No More Dogging. And then we go to the Pocono Raceway in Pennsylvania in 1972. They open up with Eccentric Man from Split. Music is the Food of Thought from Who Will Save the World. Cherry Red and Split Part 2 together. Still a Fool from Muddy Waters, and a bit of Amazing Grace. This is a bit of a treasure trove. It does show their early days. It's really good. And that Pocono gig was the last show of that lineup. So that's pretty special as well. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 5.5. Okay, coming in at number 10 is a started off as a promo thing. Only 100 copies were sent out, and it's live in Leeds, 71, recorded at the shows when they supported the Rolling Stones in 1971. So it's the classic lineup of Tony, Peter and Ken. So this opens up, it's only 5 tracks, but we get Cherry Red from Split, brilliant version. Garden from Thank Christ the Bomb's on here. Split Part 1, and then also from Split, Groundhog Boots, which is a traditional song arranged by Mr. McPhee, and An Eccentric Man. I will be talking about this album a bit later, because they did do a reissue. But it's just the simplicity of it and the rawness, so I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 9 is a very bizarre one. It came out in 1988, and it's Hogs on the Road. Now, despite the claims that this is a German recording, the actual live performances were recorded at the Old Smithy in Worcester, according to Martin Hansen's book Hoggin the Stage. The applause, though, was taken from German tapes. Yeah, even you could tell because he apologises during Salter for using the phrase "dirty hun" to keep the illusion going. Bizarre. So it's Tony McPhee on guitar, Dave Anderson on bass, and Mick Jones on the drums. We open up with Express Man from Christ the Bomb. Pretty cool. Strange Town and Eccentric Man from Split. Classic songs from that album. 3744 James Road from the Crosscut Saw, as long as, and also we get I Want You to Love Me. Split 4 Soldier, Backs Against the Wall and Backs Against the World. Back to the Split for Garden and Split 1. Waiting in the Shadows, which is a track that from the Razor's Edge album, one of the best tracks, and because it was an 80s album, the live version sounds much better. Light My Light from Who Saved the World. Me and the Devil, of course, from Mr. Johnson. Mistreated from Crosscut Saw. Groundhog Blues from the Blues Ability, and Split 2 and Cherry Red. It's a bit of a cheat, this, isn't it? Recorded somewhere, giving it the same name. But, yeah, it's a bit strange. But the songs are good on it, so I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 6.2. Okay, coming in at number 8 then, we have got an album called US Tour in 72. But it's not recorded in the US. It's actually recorded from BBC sessions, not in America. But it was very strange. So it's the classic lineup of Tony, Peter and Ken. Not many 2 tracks on here. We got Mistreated and Split 1 from Split. Cherry Red, of course, the classic from Thank Christ for the Bomb. Groundhogs on here. And Still a Fool, The Muddy Waters. Apart from being the biggest con in music history, it's got some pretty good songs on here. But the quality isn't there, but as recordings. But I'm going to give it an RTO of 6.5 just for the sheer balls of putting that out as it was. Okay, coming in at number 7 is an album that has 2 titles because it got reissued. The original is called No Surrender, and it was recorded on the Razor's Edge tour where I saw them, and then it came out and reissued as a Razor's Edge. So this is the lineup I saw. Tony McPhee on guitars and vocals, Alan Fish on bass, and Mick Curtin on drums. So this is quite a sentimental because it's when I saw them. They opened up with the Razor's Edge, which is it's a good track. It's better live than in the studio because it was an 80s album. Baby, Have I Done This Wrong from the Blues Ability, brilliant track. I Want You to Love Me from Split. Light My Light, I love that version. Split Part 2. Then from Razor's Edge again, Superseded. It's not very good on the album, but the live version is killer, much better. Garden from Thank Christ for the Bomb. Split 1. Groundhogs Blues and Cherry Red from Christ for the Bomb rounds it off. As I said, this is when I saw them. I brought the Razor's Edge at the gig. Fun memories of this. It was nice to hear this again, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 6, released in 1989, and it's Groundhogs at the Anti-WAA Festival, and it was recorded in Germany. Band was Tony McPhee, Dave Anderson on the bass. Of course, it was actually played with Walkwind at some stage, and Mick Jones on the bass. So it's the usual suspects, I'm afraid. And Centric Man from Split, 3744 James Road from Solid. Split parts 1 and 4. With a little bit of 2 thrown in as well. Then Light My Light from Who Saved the World. Cherry Red. Groundhog Blues, which of course is a John Lee Hooker song, but it was on their a bit Blues Obituary, and The Muddy Waters, I Want You to Love Me, pretty cool. Forget the politically charged thing, which is what it was. There's plenty of the album from Split. Really good. There's a little bit of improv blues on there as well. So I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, number 5. Released in 2004, and it's Live UK Tour 1976. And it was recorded at the King's Hall in Derby. This is when they were a 4-piece, where you've got Tony McPhee on guitars, Dave Bell Love on the second guitar, Martin Kent on bass, and Mick Cook drums. So this has got a really good selection of songs, lots from Crosscut Saw, because that was the album they were touring with. So from that album they do Boogie With Us, Promiscuity, Corn Cob, which I love, 11th Hour, a classic, Crosscut Saw itself and Fulfillment, brilliant, Hogwash, We Do Like My Light, and Split Part 2, and Cherry Red. As I said, the album draws a lot of its songs from the Crosscut Saw, which is a great album. It was a little intimate gig. I love the sound on this. The extra guitar does give it a little bit more depth, so I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, number 4. This was released in 2001, but it's a recording of them at the Astoria in London, which is sadly no longer with us. The band at the time, of course, Tony McPhee. We've got Eric Cipollina on bass and Pete Correa on drums. They open up with an absolute belter, and it's a cover of the Willie Dixon song Shank Me, which is on their Blues Obituary, and they do a splendid version of it. Eccentric Man from Splits on here. It's a great version. They all are. 3744 James Road from Hogwash. I Want You to Love Me, the Muddy Water song, which was on their Blues Obituary. The first two parts of Split, Mistreated from the Blues Obituary. Still a Fool, another Muddy Water song, absolutely nailed that one. Cherry Red, Groundhog Blues, and down at the bottom, Willie Dixon. It's a great album, this is. These are more long versions, it's more blues jams as well. Tony goes off on little journeys on the guitar. I really enjoy this album. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 3. Released in 1984, but it's called Hoggin the Stage. It was recorded in Leeds in 1971 and London and Stockholm in 76. So for the Leeds and London, it's Tony McPhee, Peter Cruikshank and Ken Polstick. For the Stockholm recordings, it is Tony McPhee, Martin Kent and Mick Cook. So it's a Side A is recorded in Leeds in 1971. Remember that concert they opened up with for the Rolling Stones? So on here you get Cherry Red, Garden and Split, one from the Split. Groundhog Blues from the Obituary, the John Lee Hooker. Eccentric Man from the Bomb album, Split 2. Side C is recorded in London in 1971. You get Mistreated, Still a Fool. Absolutely brilliant. And then the last side is recorded in Stockholm in 1976. We've got Boogie With Us from Black Diamond, which they were an album they brought out then. Keeps Me Alive is brilliant from that album. Live Right from Black Diamond, and I Love Misogyny. And then there's a included in it, I did listen to it, a 7-inch bonus EP, which was actually recorded in London again, and it's a little medley of Cherry Red and Split. And then on the B side, you've got from Stockholm, Light My Light from Hogwash. Now this, the Leeds recording sounds so much better on here, and it of course featured Peter, Tony and Ken. I like this album. You got, and then 76, which is the heaviest sound, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.6. Okay, coming in at number 2 is an album that released in 1988. I don't know where it is. All I know, it's recorded in Germany. I don't know when, but it's called Extremely Live. And it's Tony McPhee, Dave Anderson and Mick Jones. So this one starts off from Crosscut Saw, Express Man, back straight up with Strange Town from Solid, Eccentric Man from the Bomb album, back to Solid for 3744 James Road, and then I Want You to Love Me from Crosscut. Split Part 4, Back Against the Wall, Soldier from Crosscut, Waiting in the Shadows, Groundhog Blues and Cherry Red. It's raw. It's one of the later versions, but boy does it sound great. I really like this, and I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay, but my number one Groundhogs Blues album is the double album released in 1993, and it's called Groundhog Night. Now the lineup was Tony McPhee on guitar, Peter Correa on drums, Dave Anderson on bass. This opens up with Willie Dixon's Shank Me from the Blues Obituary, and then they do No More Dogging from that Roscoe Gordon number. Bit of Eccentric Man from Split, 3744 from James Road from Solid, I Want You to Love Me, Crosscut Saw, Garden, probably one of the best versions I've heard of that from Thank Christ the Bomb. Split 1 and 2, Still a Fool, the Muddy Water Song, I Love Your Misogyny, which is not on an album. It's a really good song. It's a great vocal from Tony. The drum sounds good. I think it's a new song that sounded really good. Thank Christ for the Bomb, classic. Soldier, classic from the same album. Mistreated from Crosscut Saw. Me and the Devil, the Robert Johnson. Cherry Red's on here. Groundhog Blues. And then another song that I'd never done before, Been There, Done That, which is probably the best of the newer songs on here. It just sounds really, really good. And they finished the show with Down in the Bottom, which they used to do on their shows, a Willie Dixon cover. Strong album. It's one of the later lineups, but the sound is good. It's one of those gigs where the atmosphere was good as well. It's a super blues album live, so I'm going to give that an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So there we go. There's a little bit of Groundhogs. They are a super band. Go and check them out. I have ranked them as well, and I do love this band. Okay, coming up next is part 2 of the Richard Thompson story, and we're going to look at the only solo album that he released in the 1970s, and it's the brilliant Henry the Human Fly. So join me for that. Bye for now.